TalkShoe.
Recorded live.
Hi, and welcome to NigelN's Community Call. This call is for targeted individuals. Again, for those of you who have been on my calls and have been there been here for quite a while, know that I talk about a lot of the psychological programming, the psychological harassment that has been waged on us. It's what I call a psychological warfare, basically. And this is used to try and condition the targeted individual into believing certain things, as well as, and those things are usually negative because they want us to have a negative thought pattern or negative mentality or negative mindset to go along with the directed energy weapon that's being used, along with the surveillance and with the job mobbing, with the remote neural monitoring. It is done to make the TI crazy, or to get them to commit suicide, or to get them to act out in a manner in which they can be institutionalized. So we all have to be aware of that. This is what this program is about. This is what they do. And tonight I want to talk about dark NLP. And the reason why I keep stressing the NLP subject, or we think about it, because this is key. This is key to how they get you to act in such a way and in such a manner. And this is something that we all, as TI, have to understand. But now also, after I talk about dark NLP, I'm going to talk about positive NLP, which I'll do on next week's show, and showing that how you can use positive NLP to overcome those dark NLP, those dark Neuro Linguistic Programming patterns that they are using against you. So tonight reading comes from Mind Control 101. Let me post the link in the chat so you can go on and take a look at yourself and do research. Research dark NLP, and you'll see how it affects you, and you will start to see and be aware of these patterns that they're using against you. And you say, oh my God, this is exactly what I'm experiencing. This is exactly what they're doing. I mean, that's how I was. It was truly an eye opener for me. And but I don't want to go through that yet until I talk about the coercive mind control program. Okay, I've talked about this many times, and I hope that it's instilled in your mind, because you have to understand what that is also, and it goes hand in hand with Neuro Linguistic Programming. So again, talk about coercive mind control tactics. We talk about it's a coercive psychological system, or coercive influence, right? It's coercion, which is defined as the force to act or think in a certain manner, to dominate, restrain, or control by force or psychological means. Okay, because I just added the psychological means in there because it needs to be stayed in there. To bring about by force. So coercive psychological system or behavioral change program, which use psychological force in a coercive way to cause the learning and adaptation of an ideology, a designated set of beliefs, ideas, attitudes, or behavior. The essential strategy used by the operators of these programs is to systematically select, sequence, and coordinate many different types of coercive influence, anxiety, and stress-producing tactics over continuous periods of time. And this is where dark NLP comes in, because they use dark NLP to create anxiety, to create stress in your life. Okay, it is used. These tactics are used to affect you negatively and to put you in negative situations, for you to develop negative thinking patterns, negative behavior, all for the sake of destroying your life, okay? And this is so covert that you will not even be aware of it, that this is happening to you. So while they're conditioning you, you're unaware of it. And then they wake you up and say, okay, now, we've conditioned certain types of attitude, behavior patterns. We've instilled those inside of you that you don't know about because you're unaware of it. And now we're going to overtly target you now, okay? And we're going to target you in such a way that those thought patterns or those behavior will come about every time we do a hand signal, every time we walk by you and we say certain things, every time we have a conversation with you, we will trigger those negative behaviors or those negative thought patterns, okay? In such a program, the subject is forced to adapt in a series of tiny visible steps. Each tiny step is designed to be sufficiently small so that the subject will not notice the change in themselves or identify the coercive nature of the process being used. The subject of these tactics do not become aware of the hidden organizational purpose of the coercive psychological program until much later, if ever. These tactics are usually applied in a group setting by what they say is well-intended but deceived friends and allies of the victim. But I'll go further beyond that. Not only is it applied in a group setting, but it's also applied in you under hypnosis. Okay, so you may sleep at a friend's house, sleep at a boyfriend's house, a girlfriend's house. They will let those people in as you're sleeping, and they will place you under hypnosis. Okay, and they will condition you and program your mind. Okay, this keeps the victim from putting up the eager defense we normally maintain in known adversarial situations. The coercive psychological influence of these programs aim to overcome your critical thinking abilities and your free will. Apart from any appeal to informed judgment, which they basically take away your ability to make a rational judgment in things that will affect you in your life, okay, victims gradually lose their ability to make independent decisions and exercise informed consent. So they will do this to you, and they will try to make you consent to their programming, to what it is that they're doing. Okay? So instead of you saying, okay, you know what, they're sending you subliminal message saying that, don't say anything about what we're doing. If you don't say nothing, then you give them your consent because you're not saying anything. And they continue to do this to you. So a lot of victims end up not saying anything and end up being victimized until they either commit suicide or they're placed in a mental institution or a penal institution. Okay? Their critical thinking, defense, cognitive process, values, ideas, attitudes, conduct, and ability to reason are undermined by a technological process rather than a meaningful free choice, rationality, or the inherent merit or value of the ideas or propositions being presented. So how do these things work, right? The tactics used to create undue psychological and social influence, often by means involving anxiety or stress, falls into 7 categories. And I'll just read. I'm not going to go into details with them. I'll post the link in the chat, and you guys will have to go on there and look at it yourself. So tactic 1 is increase suggestibility. Tactics 2 is establish control over a person's social environment, time, and source of social support. Tactic 3, prohibit disconfirming information. Tactic 4, make the person reevaluate the most central aspect of his or her experience of self. Tactic 5, create a sense of powerlessness. Tactic 6, create strong aversive emotional arousal. Tactic 7, intimidate the person. Okay? So that is the 7 steps of a psychological coercive program. Okay. Now it brings us to what the topic of tonight is: dark NLP. So what are dark NLP? Okay, and I'll give you some real-world example from my experience and from the experience of other TIs who I've spoken to that talks about how they use dark NLP to affect them. So what is dark NLP? Okay, and it says dark patterns are language patterns that are not nice. They are designed to hurt and cause a lot of pain, depression, and misery. And it tells you, it says, use any of these dark patterns with extreme caution. They are not nice, and they do not have good effect on the person who uses them. All right? So one is dark use of submodality patterns, which is to say, well, whatever the person thinks is true will no longer be true. Okay? So if you have very strong self-confidence, very strong self-esteem, and that is true in your position, okay, they will now make that not true. So it means that they will do things to destroy your self-esteem and to destroy your self-confidence, and destroy whatever positive concept you have of yourself. So it's to put someone's self-esteem or self-concept in a no longer true position. Also, to put someone's relationship in a no longer true position, but used to be location. So, you're in a relationship, and what do these people do? They come in and they destroy your relationship. So everything that you have that you're happy in, they will move in and they will try to destroy. Okay? Gestures are no longer true aside when talking about what you want them to let go of. So let's say you come out of a bad relationship, all right, and you're moving on, all right? These people will basically try to make you constantly think about that person that you left that relationship with, especially if it's a bad relationship. So they may get people to look like that individual that you just broken up with, okay? And they will place these people constantly in your path so that you're always thinking about that person. You say, well, this looks like such and such, okay? And if you had a bad breakup, okay, you will have a negative emotional arousal, or you will be in a negative emotional state. This is what they do, okay? And basically, they're trying to torment you. This is part of their way of trying to torment you about that situation that you are in. Especially, like I said, if it's a negative situation or it had a negative outcome. Okay, ask the person to make an idea of what they believe will be a good future for them and to see it as a picture. And then to put that in the no longer true what used to be. So somebody may ask you, well, as you are early on in your targeting, well, what do you want out of life? You may say, well, I want to start my own business. And I'm going to, they give you that words of encouragement. Now, what they'll do is that they will do everything in their power to prevent you from starting your business. Okay? Whatever it is that you tell them that you want out of life, they will do whatever they can to prevent you from obtaining that goal. Okay? And this is also, so it says here, dealing with a man suggests that his ability to perform and rise to the occasion, put that in the no longer true but used to be true location, and put longing to be able to. But the realization he can't into the absolute true position. Again, you're very good at your job. You work your butt off. You always come through. Okay? And what they will do is that they will do things that will undermine your ability to perform your job or your skills to the best of your ability, to where you used to always come through. Now you can't. Because you now have self-confidence issue. You now have self-doubt issue. They're messing with your files. They're doing things to put you in the no longer true position. All right? And when I say no longer true position, meaning that if you used to be good at something, they will try to take that ability away from you. Okay? And when this is how they do in terms of dealing with a man. All right? So if you're a man, this is what they will do. Now, if you're a woman, it says dealing with a woman suggests her ability to experience desire and warmth, find it weighs into the no longer true but used to be true position. So if you're a woman, okay, and you're a good-looking woman, men desire you, what they will do, they will spread their rumors, to where men won't approach you. So now you start to, doubt yourself. Am I beautiful? Am I pretty? Why isn't anybody approaching me? It puts you in a mood in which you become depressed. You may lose a lot of weight, or you may even eat and gain a lot of weight. Okay, you may not take care of yourself like you used to, because what they're doing to you is have an adverse effect on your personality, on your life. So you're not able to maintain your appearance as you once used to. So again, anything to take away your confidence, to take away your ability, to undermine you as a woman, to undermine you as a man, anything that will affect you in the negative way. So, like I said, is to put you in the not true position where it used to be true. So it used to be true that you used to take care of yourself. You used to, you're good looking. You have a good job. So to take those things away from you, so to put you in the no longer true position. Okay, so these are all patterns, and this is how they're telling you, like if you use these patterns, this is the concept of what it's supposed to do. Okay, remember to use both sides of this. First, get rid of the problem, then replace it with what you want them to believe. Tweak the drivers of the submonality to strengthen, weaken the state as needed. Compulsion installer. Elicit the submodalities of a compulsion that a person has. Okay? So what they're trying to do is that, let's say you have a certain compulsion. Maybe you have a weakness. Maybe as a man, your weakness is women. As a man, your weakness is like pretty women. Okay? So they will heighten that to where you find yourself always talking to pretty women. You don't like this woman because she looks regular. So all of a sudden now you only want to talk to pretty women. Or you have a compulsion for food. Okay? Now they have you eating more and more and more. You have a compulsion for sex. Now you become a sex addict. You may turn to drugs, which is another thing that what they're talking here. They talk about drug addiction. Elicit the submodalities of a time a person does drugs. Get them fully associated into that state. Future pace being reminded of the nice state and linked to that compulsion. So if you did drugs and you stopped, well, they can get you thinking about how nice it was when you did drugs, how the feeling was so nice. So now you go back into, you become more susceptible now to going back to using drugs. Okay? The migraine pattern. And it says, hello, name. This is your name. I just want you to know that even though we have plans and you didn't show up, there's no hard feelings. And I want you to listen to the coded or subliminal words here. All right? Firing at the end of each synapse, what would that feel like now? Because it goes against migraine to suggest anything that would be a huge pain in the neck, and they kind of, bold these words. So when they say them, they emphasize it. So somebody having a conversation with you, they emphasize certain words, right? It's the kind of thing that will cause a person to throw up their hands in agony and just want to lie down and die. And the more you try to make it go away, the more it keeps coming back stronger and stronger than ever before. Suicide pattern. The suicide pattern is used on a cheating spouse or lover. And this is a conversation that's supposed to be happening. And again, I'm going to show you how they use these words to condition or to plant suicidal thoughts in your mind. Okay? So this is just a suicide pattern. I'm just saying that, you have a conversation with somebody, right? And this is how you can instill hypnotic suggestions into their mind. So it says, I don't know what's going on inside your head lately. And, whoever you're talking to, you'll say their name. Perhaps you need to do some introspect. Perhaps you need to look deep down inside yourself, explore the very essence of who you are. I don't know if you'll notice just how empty you are, deep inside yourself, so alone, so lonely. And when you explore that place, you will find memories of your failure, frustration, and missed dreams, to the point where you ask yourself, this is it. This is what I've been living for. What an empty life. These things you do to me, your life in general, only amuse you. But they miserably fail to address the deep longing inside you, the deep, painful emptiness. That's why you need to find someone to hurt, to go against. Yeah, your name. Take your own life and examine it. Okay, and they emphasize the word take your own life. So if a person's having a conversation with you and they stress that word, they stress those words, right? But they do it in a conversational manner. Okay? They says, okay, yeah, Dave, take your own life and examine it. Or as they would put it here, they'll say, yeah, Dave, and they'll pause, and then they'll say, take your own life, pause, and examine it. Okay, right there, they just implanted a hypnotic suggestion into that person's mind. Okay, you might find yourself saying, "This is it. This is all I've lived for," and you walk through life light because you're walking empty, and likewise realize you just how empty and meaningless your actions have been. Now, I think you should go deep inside yourself and examine your own motive and realize that you are hurting yourself more than you are hurting me. It's sad to see that you enjoy hurting yourself in such a manner, since you obviously got the thrill by cheating on me, but in reality, cheating yourself out of life filled with joy and happiness. This pattern used ambiguity and embedded command to do its dirty work. So one of the things that I find fascinating with this is that it shows you how people can use conversational methods, right? Conversational methods, and they can instill, all right, that embed command into your mind to make you have what they call the suicide pattern. So when people are talking to you, you always have to be aware of that. Let me give an example from my own experience. So, they usually give me these subliminal messages saying that, they're going to kick me out of the country and all this stuff and blah, 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 right? So I was on the phone having a conversation with my youngest son's mother, and, she called me. Actually, she calls me, and she sounds very hyper about, how her day, what have you. And I said to her, listen, I got to go because I got to go take care of something. And she goes, bye, like really loud. And I'm like, okay, I had already hung up the phone. But when she said that, I'm like, why is she yelling bye to me? You know what I'm saying? I mean, we talk all the time on the phone, and she's never done this. But this is how you know when, and I recognize this, okay, and I recognize it. So on my way home from work, I'm walking down the street, and I see this guy standing there with a suitcase. And he's just standing there, right? I've seen him a whole block away, okay? Just standing there. And, I'm thinking, okay, maybe he's there for somebody, right? Or such and such, right? But when I got close to him, he turns around and started walking in front of me with the suitcase behind him. Okay? Again, this is how they try to instill negative thinking patterns and negative commands. Because by her saying bye, and all of a sudden this guy standing up there with a suitcase is like, oh, well, they're going to kick me out of the country, or I should leave the country, right? So when you're targeting individual, you have to realize this. And once not only are you, when you experience it, but you have to realize what it is that they're doing, and you have to realize how it is that they're trying to make you feel, or how they're trying to make you think. Okay, and knowing this is key, because when you know this, right, it no longer has the effect. So when I saw that, I just laughed. I mean, it was a feeling of just this funny feeling that came over me. Okay, one about worry. There wasn't one about, I didn't have any kind of rampant negative thoughts. Because, again, once you realize and recognize the patterns that are at work, you can recognize it, and they will have you can develop defense mechanism to combat it, and you will once you gain knowledge of this stuff, you will be able to develop defense mechanism against these kind of attacks. So it's very important, and that's why I wanted to read this Dark NLP thing, because they're basically telling people how they can use these patterns to destroy a person's life, or to get a person to have suicidal thoughts or even commit suicide. Okay, this is it. Okay, so the next one, let's move on. The next one is the paranoid pattern. It says, did you ever wonder what people do behind your back? And this is, when somebody's talking to you. Again, they're having a conversational, experience here where they talk, this is how they're saying, well, if you talk to someone, if you want them to have paranoid thinking, this is what you should do. So the conversation goes like this. Did you ever wonder what people do behind your back? I mean, do you know what they think of you? Do you? You can guess, but they can't hide it. By trying to shield you from the painful truth, or maybe just not wanting to reveal their intentions right now, waiting for the right time to attack you, destroy you, you pause, and then you pause, and then you wait for the effect, right? Because you just embedded command into that person's mindset, into that person's mind. But maybe not. Maybe everyone likes you, and no one plans to hurt you. Maybe you're safe. Okay? And that's a negation. Saying that is a negation meant to confuse the individual. Okay? And then again, maybe not. While you breathe here, now, you realize the truth. You can trust no one, because they will betray you. And where I'm talking is how you would talk to that person to get them to into that paranoid mindset, right? It's just a matter of time. You can't trust no one. Look into the eyes of the people you know for a long time have just met you. See the reflection of the sun in them, and you realize you can't trust them. You can't trust no one. They will betray you. It's just a matter of time, remember. Once this has been elicited, it can easily be future paced. So you learn how to have these type of conversations with people. And this is how, like I said, you have to be very careful when you have conversations with people. Because when you have conversations with people and you listen to their speech pattern, you have to be aware of it in order for you to listen to it and recognize what it is that they're trying to do to you. Okay? And I'm telling you, I have had conversations with people, and knowing this has made me realize at the point when they're having these conversations with me what it is that they're trying to do. Okay? And once you become aware of it, okay, it won't have that effect on you. So again, that's why it's important. Like I said, we know these things. You know about NLP. You know about Dark NLP. You know about coercive mind control. These are all the psychological tactics that are being used on us. Okay? And we have to understand that. Okay, the door pattern. Seriously evil and manipulative pattern. This is what it's telling you what it's about. It says used in the seduction arena. So if you're a woman and you meet a man, especially if you're a TI, you're a woman, you meet a man, this is something that they will use against you. Okay? It said this is orientated for use on a woman, but of course it can be used just as effectively on a man. This is really an evil thing to do and cause the equivalent of a love slave. So if you're a TI and you're in a relationship with somebody and maybe that's how you feel, that you're a love slave, this is what they're probably using on you. So again, become aware of it, right? Whereas most seduction patterns are about getting a woman in bed, the door is aimed at controlling her after you started sleeping with her. Other patterns that you use on her have anchored immense pleasure to you. So again, we talk about NLP, we talk about anchors and triggers. Okay, so if you can if they can get you to have an anchor towards them, which is immense pleasure to you, you'll most likely be with that person. Okay, and that person will be able to control you because your anchor towards them is that of pleasure, right, and immense pleasure. The door creates an anchor for the loss of that pleasure. You already had intercourse with the girl. The idea is setting for the power of the door, which is a power and control pattern. It's right after you had intercourse and you're in bed with the girl, and at this time, hopefully, you've set up the fact that you're also the man of her dreams and the person who will fulfill her emotional needs. You're fooling around in bed. You already had a great time, and you say, "Sweetheart, what is that over there?" And you point to the door. And she'll say, "Well, you know, it's a door, silly." And you say, "Yeah, you know, I'm a real positive person. But I mean, can you imagine? I mean, you don't know what can actually happen from day to day. You think about it in your mind. I mean, what would happen if I walk out the door and the door closes as the door closes it? Slam it shut, and no matter what you did, you would not open the door, and you knew that you would never be able to look into my eyes again, and you'd never be able to hear my voice again, and you'll never be able to feel my touch again. Oh, right, there it is. This is where she starts going, I don't like that door because, I don't like that door business at all. And at this, you just reassure her, okay, all right, sweetheart, you're right. You really shouldn't think about the door, and you really don't have to think about the door. So you go back to playing around with her some more. Have some fun with it and see how. I lost my. Okay. Have some more fun with her. Bring her to another orgasm or whatever, and say, you know, a terrible thing happened the other day. My friend was hit by a truck. I mean, it was awful. By the time they got him to the hospital, he was dead. I can't believe it. You know, it's almost as if it would be a horrible thing, you know, when you think about it. And then you point towards the door, okay? That no matter, even if you were to get that door open and you're able to search, you would never find me again. Then she starts freaking out. You calibrate more on that part of you. You will never be able to see me again. You will never be able to hear my voice. Now, do you understand what this person is trying to do? So this person is trying to make a connection, or trying to make that woman anchor her pleasure with the door, anchor him walking out the door as having something terrible. Like something terrible might happen to him. That she might never see him again. She might never feel his touch. And again, that is how they can use Dark NLP to anchor and to cause you to have emotional attachment, whether it be one of pleasure, whether it be one of horror, one of fear. It is something that they do. Okay, so now is the void. This is a seduction pattern and not real negative. Okay, not going to really get into that. The value destroyer. Okay, this person can put this pattern can put a person into a brain fog for a long time. It can cause them to end it all if they were very unstable. Ask the question, what's something that no longer true but used to be? Anchor they state when they blank out thinking of the question. Okay? So again, it says ask the question, what's something that's no longer true but used to be true? And you have to think about that, right? So now it says anchor their state when they blank out thinking of the question. elicit the person's values of life, such as love, money, power, knowledge. Name their value while firing the anchor. You can elicit their value prior to anchoring the question. Either way works. You can even assume their value and name them while firing off the anchor. So, again, you can destroy a person's value just by, you ask them certain questions, and as they're thinking about that question, you can say something like, when people value money, to me, they're like the worst person on this earth. Okay, now while they're thinking, they're also hearing what you're saying. So they're internalizing what you said as they're thinking about that. All right? And you can really put a person in a negative state, especially if they value such a thing. To know that you're thinking of that the way that you're thinking of it applies to them, and it's not in a positive way, it's in a negative way. So be very careful of when people have, especially if you're a TI, when people start conversation with you, listen to how they speak. When they emphasize certain words, they will slow down their speech pattern. They will try to put you in what is called a hypnotic trance. Again, and that's because they want to condition your mind and they want to instill or implant certain suggestions towards you, and it's usually negative. You have to be aware of that. There isn't a lot of information out there about dark NLP because it's such a negative program that hypnosis and psychiatrists don't even talk about it because of what it can do to an individual, and they're supposed to hypnosis take an oath never to use dark NLP on their patients because of the effect that it can have. It can really destroy a person's life. But if you read this, hopefully you can take something out of it as opposed to your own experience, and maybe see if you've had conversation with people, or if you're in a relationship with someone, whether they're using any of these patterns on you. Okay, because you'll be able to recognize those patterns. But again, if this is the dark NLP. Now, if you also look up positive NLP gives you more information of what NLP is. Okay, of how NLP came to be. So once you know how NLP came to be, then you can go back, reread this, and you'll actually have a clearer picture. Last week I spoke about positive NLP. I did touch on some things about it. I want to go more in depth about it, which I'm going to do on next week's show, because it's again understanding the positive and the negative. Okay, and you become aware of both. And so it'll be very hard for someone to use those methods to affect you in such a way that they have before, because you'll be able to recognize those patterns. Okay. So that was the conclusion of dark NLP pattern. What do you guys think? Hello?
Yeah. Also keep in mind, as far as with the whole sexual aspect of this, what they do also is they chemically castrate you as a man so that you don't have an erection. It's hard for you to have an erection, so it's messing with your confidence, and they get the woman to either to perp you or what's wrong and all that kind of stuff, and to make you feel like, okay, well, she's with me and I'm having this problem, and I'm embarrassed to go talk to another female no matter how bad she treats me. That's something I think that they've been trying to do to me lately.
Right,
like,
and that is to get you. Yeah. It's the anchor. It's the anchoring. It's the anchoring of that. Yeah. Of that to get you into that mindset, into that way of thinking.
Right, and I know that, and I recognize that because they've tried that with me before, and
right. And what it is that they're doing, they're using dark NLP. That's what they're doing. They're using dark NLP to make you lose your self-confidence, to make you doubt your sexual prowess.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? To make you doubt your ability, that kind of thing.
I personally think, if I can interject, I personally think that you have to make a conscious decision to give away your personal power and give people control of you.
That's not true. That's not true. That's not true.
Ultimately, they try a lot of shit on me, but nothing will work. Nothing will ever work. They've tried the sexual impudence. They tried to take away my manhood, basically. But
they're taking away your manhood. Did they? First of all,
they
let me
tried. The key word is they tried.
Let me interject real quick because if someone chemically castrates you, I don't give a damn who you are.
I said you're not listening. I said they have tried.
Okay.
They did not succeed.
Okay.
Okay, I'm saying that everyone has personal power, and you have to make a conscious decision to give away your power.
Listen, but that's not true.
And they've also tried the hypnosis thing, and it
anyone
work
can put
on me
you
because I don't believe in it.
That's nonsense.
It is not nonsense. I'm living proof.
It's nonsense.
No. Let me finish.
You cannot say that it's nonsense. I am a third degree. I'm mentally trained and I'm mentally strong. It cannot work on me.
I'm just saying, if someone places you on the hypnosis, you telling me, that you're strong enough to not be placed on hypnosis. I
hypnotize myself to put myself through 4 inches of pine board, mister. I know what mind control is. I know what mind control is. No one can mind control me because my mind is strong.
Okay. Let me just stop you there. So you're absolutely right? But you have an advantage because you know what mind control is. Okay, and that's your advantage. Your advantage is that you know what mind control is.
Right.
So when they began to do this to you, you already knew. You already know. So it becomes harder for them to even succeed in doing what they're trying to do. Okay? The thing is that for most targeted individuals, they didn't know. They may have had an idea, they may have heard of mind control, but they had no idea. They had no really idea of the deceptive nature of mind control, of how somebody can have a conversation with you and embed negative thinking patterns into your mind. They were not aware of that. You're fortunate because you knew about it. Okay, and I'm guessing it's because of what it is that you were doing and what you did and what you do, that you are you have when it comes to that aspect, you were aware, so therefore you had a stronger mentality. You had an awareness that most targeted individuals didn't have. So that was your advantage. So I totally agree with you. Okay. Now it's harder for them to do the things that they used to do to me now because you know what? I'm aware of it now. I know.
Yeah, so am I.
I have a greater understanding of it. So
right, but if you weren't aware. I understand what you're trying to say.
He wasn't saying that that it can be done, but again, it can be done if the subject is unaware of it. If they're unaware of it, it becomes much more easier. As opposed to someone who is aware of it, it becomes much more harder. That's why, as targeted individuals, we have gone through this for over 10 years. A lot of stuff that they used to do no longer has the same effect because we are aware of it. We've been through it. We're aware of that. We are aware of the processes. We are aware of what it is that they're trying to do. So it becomes even harder. So again, awareness is key. Awareness is key, and what is awareness is knowledge, right? Knowledge based. So that's why I stress for targeted individuals to educate themselves about these things. educate yourself about these things, realizing that, you know, you're being affected in such a way that, you know, they were bypassing your defenses, your mental firewall, because they knew how to do it. They knew how to do it, and you were unaware of it. So you become an easy target. So,
and I think,
but it is foolish to think that no one can be placed under hypnosis and not do whatever it is that the person who's placed them on hypnosis commands them to do.
Right. Because when you're asleep, first of all, when you're asleep, you're not in a state of awareness. So that's like your weakest point is when you're asleep. If you're awake, of course, you know it's harder to.
Who says?
Because your environment.
And I also condition myself mentally before I go to bed.
Well, I mean, I hear you.
There's a lot of aspects of the situation you don't understand.
Yeah, but there are things that people can do. They can drug you. Okay, they can drug you, and then what? After they drug you, then what? Then your defenses are gone. I don't care how aware you are.
I deadbolt my door to get in there.
Okay. Well, then you have. Okay, so you deadbolt your door. Do you have a girlfriend who spends the night over or anything like that?
I sleep with my police club and my nunchakus and my samurai sword. Anyone that comes in is going to leave without a head. Simple as that.
So you can't mind control, but they got you paranoid. Living in a paranoid state.
I'm covered. I'm safe.
I like that. Can I get one of those samurai swords?
You're covered, but to the rest of the world, if somebody that did not know what was going on,
wait, Miriam, let me ask you, gentlemen, can I get a couple of nunchucks and a samurai sword too? Because I definitely need some of that.
But I hear you and I respect you, but it's like what Nigel said is so on point. You can't be mind controlled now because you're aware. But when you weren't aware, what brought you to the point to go to bed in that state that you just mentioned?
Okay,
self-preservation. Hell.
You had to go through something to get there.
Self-preservation, Miriam. Hell.
Right, that's what I'm saying. He must have been through something. They tried that. You saw that some behaviors were going on that you knew were not yours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
See, so, now because of your knowledge, you can't be mind controlled. But the sad thing is the many young people primarily out here that they're doing this to. I mean, look, Columbine, those guys that blew up, shot up everybody, there's a history behind that. They were talking about being organized stalk before that happened. So you're blessed to now be aware. That's all they're saying. But anybody can be mind-controlled. And after you recognize what's going on and you do your research, then you can stand and say, you can't do that to me anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah, parents have been doing the same thing to their kids for many years. They mind control and destroy their kids through negative programming. That's the same thing. If someone can negatively program you, you can positively program yourself with self-hypnosis.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. That's why I talk about also positive neuro linguistic programming, because with positive neuro linguistic programming, you can combat the negative that they have done to your mind and continue to try to instill in your mind. So positive neuro linguistic is very important to combat what it is that they're doing. And I'm going to get into very good details next week on that, as well as, we're going to go into the history of neuro-linguistic programming, because it's important that we know the history of it. So as with anything, you have to go back and learn the history of that, and all the way up to the present, to really have a full understanding. Once you have a full understanding, I have no doubt that as a targeted individual, once you have a full understanding of this, okay, you will be able to combat so many things that they've done to you, okay, and your mind will be much more at ease, okay. I'm not saying that this is going to stop them from doing, what they're doing. They're going to continue to do what they're going to continue to do, but you're going to be able to deal with it in such a way that, you don't end up in a mental hospital, you don't end up in a penal institution because of the effect that what they're doing have on you, to cause you to have outbursts, to cause you to act out in a violent manner towards someone, you will be able to, when they do their street theater, you'll be able to walk past them and just say, what a bunch of idiots. Look at these people, they're crazy. You'll call them crazy, like, and really know that they're crazy. Okay? Because you'll be able to see that, only crazy people do the shit that they do.
Yeah.
They're the ones that are crazy, not you. Okay? They're doing this to make you seem crazy. Okay? But they're the ones that's crazy. They're doing this to you to drive you insane, but they're the ones that's crazy. Because anytime you can have a person stand out in front on your block in the wee hours of the night because you're coming home or you're going out, and their job is just to stand there and watch you, that's something sick in their mind. Okay? That's something sick in their mind.
And I think also the fact that a lot of these folks are just so just really and truly lost in a sense. They feel like they have some delusional idea.
Right, but most of them are deceived. And a lot of times the deception is through the religion. The deception is through they believe that that they're doing some righteous cause. Okay, because it's a cult mentality that is people who participate in these kind of programs. It's a cult mentality. So listen, they know the people who are behind these programs. They know who to use. They know where to go to get people to participate in doing what it is that they're doing. They know how to psychologically manipulate you, to villainize you. They know how to manipulate you to such a point where you will confess to something that you didn't do, or confess to something that they think that you've done, or you have to understand that. You have to understand that. Once you understand that, you have to realize that, look, you were manipulated. Okay, you were manipulated so that they can keep you quiet about these experiments that they're doing to you with the directed energy weapons, because this is it's all about. It's not just about the mind control. The psychological warfare that they're doing too. It's about the cover-up, right? It's about the cover-up of the remote neural monitoring. It's about the cover-up of the directed energy weapons, the micro weapons that they've been using, you and your family and your friends. Okay, that's what it is. It's about the cover-up.
Oh yeah, I know that.
And the greatest cover-up is you being diagnosed with having a mental illness.
Exactly.
That takes away all your credibility.
Right. And I think also the fact that not just the how they try to take away your credibility, but the simple fact that these folks are. It's one thing to take away somebody's credibility, but it's another thing to destroy someone's life, or to make them commit suicide, or that sort of thing. There's a certain sense of wickedness and cruelty, unimaginable cruelty that is perpetrated, and the fact that we live in a country where the law, who is supposed to be here to protect and to serve, is participating in these types of heinous actions against citizens and folks here. It's just an amazing, discouraging thing, to you think about, well, who can I go to? Can I go to the police? Can I go to? And it's like, well, you can't, because this is, they're part of.
The police are part of it. The police are part of it because once they know that you're going to the police, they will have already contacted whoever is there. Whoever is there that's participating in this program to intercept you when you get there
Right.
You know, to possibly target you when you get there, to deter you from filing a complaint. Okay, this is what they do. This is what they do. I mean, it's a cover up in such a mass scale because what it is that they do, and they're so, you know, it's kind of like Coercive Pro when, you know, when people were talking about that they're being spied on, when they went to the police to try to, you know, file complaints, they were being turned away. They were being turned away. It's like sometimes when you go to the police, some people go to the police station to file a complaint against a police officer, they will try to turn them away. They will try to get them to not file a complaint. They will say, well, you know, you can't file a complaint here. You got to go such and such and give you the runaround. You know, you got to go way across town to file a complaint. At the time, you're like, I'm not going way across town to file a damn complaint. Why can't I file a complaint here? There's a video that I was looking at on YouTube a couple months back, and it was an undercover video that was showing people going into police precincts to file complaints against particular officers, and they were being turned away and even being intimidated to not file a complaint. Okay, this is a problem that we as TIs face because they know that if enough TIs file a complaint about what's going on and what's being done to them, that somehow, somewhere, someone will have to look into it. And they don't want that. They don't want it. That's why it's so important for them to keep us so separated. That's why it's so important for them to infiltrate the TI community, to tear apart, you know, the TIs who have come together to say, okay, you know, we need to do something about this. They infiltrate the organizations. FSCHS is a prime example. Okay. Of one organization that was supposed to be doing right by the TI community, but to me, it's not. You know, I think they're doing an important job by bringing awareness to it. But I think, you know, we had a golden opportunity, okay, to bring this into court. And what they've done, they sent a bogus lawyer, who they give, you know, thousands of dollars to totally discredit them. Totally discredit them. Okay, so I mean, if one thing that we need to have is people who are smart enough to recognize and to understand that, look, you know, when they're being infiltrated, when the people who have infiltrated the organization are doing things to deter to deter the chance of targeted individuals coming together to really state their case and to move forward in a way which will expose what's being done. Okay? And to get those people out. That, you know, I love to go on NCSS call because when I look in the chat, I know it tells me exactly who's the perps on there, so that when they come on my call, I can call them out. That's why certain people that used to come on my call don't come on my call anymore, because I will call them out, and they know that. So, you know, and for any TI who goes on those calls, and if you feel that you're being targeted in those calls, don't run away from it. Okay? Don't, you know, because I used to do that. So now I don't run away from it. Now I recognize the targeting method, and I target them back also. Okay? And when I target them back, I see that they usually get off the chat. So we have to condition ourselves to not be afraid that when we're on these calls, that even though they are sending us subliminal messages through these calls, that we're able to listen to these calls, and because some of these calls are very important, they help us. Okay? Now, if you're not, you know, you have to learn to develop strengthen your mental state. Okay? And the only how to strengthen your mental state is by not running away from some of these calls when you feel like you're being targeted. You know, but call them out on it. Call them out on it. Confront them. Confront them. It doesn't matter if they say, oh, you know, you think everybody's targeting you. It doesn't matter. Eventually, you're going to get to a point where you recognize that you're targeting so much that you become so aware of it that that you would not run off those calls, but you will be able to stay there and confront it and say, okay, I see what you're doing. You know, you eventually, like I said, you will get to that point. And that's a point that, you know, we all have to get to it, so that when we do end up going on a call, an important call, that we're not being chased away from that call, because that is how these perps work. Okay, that is how they work. That is how they, you know, separate the TI community. That's how they destroy the close connection that we have as a TI community, and that's how they do it. They do it from the inside. They know that we come on these calls, and then they start to target us. You know, some people have accused me of targeting them, and you know, it's not my intention to target anybody, but I could be, like I said, you know, I could be used to target people, but I try to become very aware of what it is that I say and what it is that I do, so that no one feels that I'm targeting them. And if you feel that way, then, you know, I'm sorry you feel that way, but there's nothing I can do. Obviously, at that point, there's probably nothing I can do or say or do to create a difference. So you should just go on another call until you become more aware of what's going on. Then you can come back and then we can have a conversation to where you don't feel like you're being targeted. Or if you feel like you're being targeted, you recognize it and you can deal with it in a way that, you know, it doesn't make you paranoid or it doesn't make you feel negative in any way. That's what I had to do. That's what I had to learn. Okay? And so it's important, again, that we learn about these processes, these methods, to really understand what's going on. And, you know, and again, like I said, you know, they're trying to separate us. That's what they're trying. They're trying to separate us. They want to keep us apart. They don't want us to get together. You know, and so you have to be aware of that. And you know, not everyone is targeting you. Sometimes you may think somebody's targeting you, and then you'll be able to recognize who's targeting you and who's not.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, that's the thing too. With we just recognize that, you know, who's targeting and who's not, because you have
but also too, you have to come to the awareness that, remember, that they can and this is what they do. Okay, whoever sits behind these computers or whoever uses these weapons, you know, they know how to. If you're having a conversation with a person, they know how to, you know, put whatever it is in that person's mind to make them say whatever. It's like, for instance, with kids, you know. A kid will say something to you, you just be like, what the heck did this kid just say? This kid shouldn't be saying this. Like, where did this come from? But it's geared towards you, okay? So you say to yourself, well, how is that possible, right? How is that possible that they can use these kids to target you, you know, by what they say? Okay, and it's because they have, you know, basically accessed their mind.
Yeah.
You know, they've accessed their mind. They've used these machines, these microwave weapons to make them say what it is that they're saying that is geared towards you. You know, it's called silent thought. It's silent thought, where you're speaking the words, you know, and you're hearing you're speaking the words because it's being you know, it's being introduced into your mind, as you know, and then you're saying the words. It is silent thought technology. It's I gotta find the link to the website, but I'll look for it and I'll email it to you. But it talks about.
I think there's a video.
It talks about it. This website was developed from a guy who spent 40 years working within the military too on these kind of weapons, and he talks about it. He has a website that's dedicated to this because he felt that these are something that the military was using, and it was wrong that they using it on people. Remember, that's what these weapons are meant to do. They're meant to use on people. They're meant to use on you, and others around you. You know. So as I was telling Miriam earlier before she started, she was like, "Don't say that, don't say that." But I was telling her that I went to see Mom because she invited me for some food, and then when I get there, when I get there.
All right, tell Neil, and I want to.
When I get there, right, she opens the door, turns around, grab her behind, right, then turns back around, grab her crotch, and then turn back around and walk away.
Neil, would your mother do that? Or I said they got
he doesn't know. Listen,
they got
mind control,
visualization. They're doing.
Miriam, it's mind control. It's mind control.
I don't think it's
hard. People are doing things, but they're totally unaware of what it is that they're doing.
No, I think they can do visualizations, and that
they're not making me see things that there, Miriam. Okay,
yep,
what they're doing, what they're doing is that they're using these micro weapons to control their mind and their actions. Control their mind and
that's the visualization.
Is at that point that they have control over that individual's mind, and that person is totally unaware.
Yep, I believe it. I've experienced it with her. I mean, not that particular episode, but the whole mind control and the whole what's the word I'm looking for?
Let me give you another example. Okay.
They really.
I remember years ago. Right, I remember years ago. This is like maybe probably 4 or 5 years ago. This is vivid in my mind. So I came in the house, and I'm in the kitchen. I'm sitting there, and my sister came through the door, right? And she kept pacing back and forth in the hallway. She kept pacing back. Why she kept pacing back and forth? I'm sitting in the kitchen. I'm looking at her, and she kept pacing back and forth. And it was like she was just like lost. She didn't know what the hell she was doing. So I was like, okay, the next time she comes back and starts pacing back and forth, I'm going to get my video camera and start videotaping, right? So I took out my video camera, I started taping, and then here she comes back and forth, right? So I took out the camera so she could see the camera, right? She turned around and walked right out through the door and didn't come back for the rest of the night.
All right.
Okay? Now, when stuff like that happens, and you're talking some of that happen, okay, you have to really say to yourself, something is not right here with this person. And when I looked at her face, she had like this blank stare on her face, this blank stare. She didn't say nothing to me at all. Just kept walking back and forth. And let me tell you something. When I read about what the CIA was doing, especially in the MK Ultra document, and I would recommend all TI. Don't go on no shows and you hear about MK Ultra, you're thinking, okay, I know MK Ultra. The documents are online. You can download the documents and read them. You download the documents and read them, you will see that this psychological warfare fits exactly to what they were trying to do with MK Ultra.
Oh yeah, and
okay? If you're a man and you ever felt that if you're a TI and you're in this program and you're a straight man, okay, not gay but straight, and you felt like they were trying to make you gay, read the MK Ultra document. Read the MK Ultra document because that was part of the CIA program of turning straight men gay. Read it.
Wow.
I know what I'm talking about. Okay.
And that's exactly.
I have done the research.
Right, and that's exactly. And I've read those documents, and that's exactly what they're trying to do to me here in Charlotte. You know, all of a sudden it's like, okay, all these gay men at my gym who just participate in this kind of stuff, and even the women. You know, like if I'm having sexual intercourse with a woman, like she'll want to put her finger near my anus. So I'm like, I don't play that role. I don't do that. I do not do that. and that kind of thing. And even like tonight, when I was coming home from the gym after, I guess they drugged me with and whatnot to try to make me feel like that. I feel like I had the shakes. But I kept my composure, because what I've learned is that when they do this stuff to you, it's like sometimes you just need to just kind of relax and not say anything to anybody.
But it's because it's to weaken your mindset. It's to weaken your mind, so that when they carry out their skits or their street theater, it's to make you paranoid.
Right, exactly.
It's to make you paranoid, to have a psychological breakdown.
Right. So I finished my workout and went. So on the way home, there's like a church on the corner from my apartment complex. So there are two. As soon as I almost like coming to the street to make the right turn, two blue and white squad cars came out of the parking lot of the church. Once again, the whole thing here with the the Bible Belt being in the South, and of course I'm a devout atheist, and just another way of saying, okay, well, if you don't come to church or whatever, then we're gonna keep doing this to you. Well, I mean, you could keep doing this to me. I'm never going to church. I'm an atheist. I don't believe in God. Now I wish they will. I wish they they quit that nonsense, but I know they won't. So the more they do, the harder I fight. The more they do this to me, I prove to them and I prove to the other people where their religion comes from. I educate people on where their religion comes from, because there are a lot of people. There are a lot of people that know me.
Why do you think you're still alive?
Why I think I'm still alive? I'm alive because I'm educated. I'm using technology, and I know that there are other people out here that knows what's going on, and those people are helping me, okay, and helping other TIs in some part, in some form or fashion, right? So that because they care about people and not because whether or not I believe in God. God has nothing to do with me being here. If you want me to educate you on where your God comes from, I could do that. But it's not a discussion for.
Is there a reason to be so hostile?
Yeah, there's a reason to be so hostile, because when I am being attacked because I don't believe in the Christian God by Christians.
Well, who's attacking you here? Who's attacking you here?
I'm not saying here, but I'm just saying just the whole aspect of this thing, with me and trying to sway my mind and that kind of thing. I'm not attacking you. I'm not being hostile. I am just speaking. I'm just being affirmative. Okay, I'm being affirmative to the fact that to let you know and others know exactly what my position is and how strongly I believe in my position. So I'm not attacking anybody. I'm just being assertive so that you know just how strongly I feel about my position in terms of my belief. Because when you ask me, if you don't believe in God, why are you here? Why would you even ask me that? Do I need to believe in a God to be here?
Well, I believe he's the one sustaining you.
Well, no, you can't tell me who's sustaining me.
I said I believe.
Oh, okay. Well, that's what I'm saying. Well, you know what? You don't have to say I believe that he's the one sustaining you. You have to say that. You have to say that to me.
But that's my opinion.
I'm just saying, but you know how I feel about that. So for you, if you know how I feel about that, you shouldn't even mention that to me. That's what I'm saying.
Well, I mean, I was.
I hear you, but what I'm saying is that's something you keep to yourself because you know my position on it. So when you say you believe God is sustaining me, of course I'm going to answer and say, no, he isn't. You already know my position, so there's no need for you to tell me that.
All right,
that's what I'm saying.
All right.
Neil is an atheist, Miriam, so, just leave God out of it.
I just thought he was mad because, he didn't see I didn't realize he was an actual, bona fide atheist. But
how long have I been saying that? How long have I been saying I'm an atheist? I mean, do I have to say it every day for the rest of my life for you to believe I'm a bona fide atheist?
No, okay. I'm not on every call, so you can't say that. I just knew you had some.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, exactly. I mean, that's just how I feel. I mean, of course.
Yeah, but I understand what but you don't have to always be so combative.
Right. It's not.
Miriam, she don't mean any harm by that.
In an argument or anything. That's not
she don't mean any harm by that.
Listen, when I go through what I go through, like today, right? And then all subliminal messages, okay? And then you come here and you're talking about God to me when you know that what I've said to you, explaining what I went through today, being drugged, being tried to make it look like I'm a schizophrenic.
No. I didn't hear all of that.
And the police cruisers, coming at the church parking lot and all that.
No, I didn't hear all of that. I'm hearing it now.
I'm just saying, when people come with me with this God angle, then it sounds like you're participating in what I'm doing.
Oh Lord.
I'm just saying. I'm not saying that you are, but I'm saying that. I'm not saying that you are participating. I'm just saying.
It's just that they got you to a point. They've got you to a point where you're just tired of it all.
And who wouldn't be tired of it all? Of course, who wouldn't be tired of it all? Of course, anybody going through this day to day is going to get tired of it. But what I'm saying, for me is that
I believe your bloodline between you and Nigel must be so strong because the stuff that they've done to you guys is just outrageous. And the including your family members and everything, I just say you guys must have some really, really. The bloodline must be very, very.
I don't know, whether or not my bloodline is very, very strong. But I do know one thing, and that one thing is when you educate yourself and you learn about different people and you hear different people's experiences and you know history and you see the horror of these, you know what the horror of these experimentations are. You've seen what they've done. You know that it's a never-ending thing, no matter how well you behave or how bad you behave.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you're going to go out, you might as well go out fighting. You might as well go out giving them, a hell of a fight, in a sense, rather than, trying to be good about it, and then they still do it to you anyway. So my thing is I know that I'm going through this, but my thing is to also learn about them. Learn about their message. Learn about what
because one thing TIs have to understand is that once you're in this program, right? No matter how they try to make you believe, what they try to make you believe, or how they try to make you feel, like if they try to make you, one thing that you have to understand is that they'll try to confuse you. They'll try to make you believe by doing bad that's a good thing, and by doing good that's a bad thing. You have to understand that. So it doesn't really, if they try to make you feel like, you have to be nice to people all the time because, because that's how you should be,
right.
While people are treating you badly, okay, or while people are psychologically attacking you, that you have to be good to them. Hell no. Don't be good to them. Don't be good to them. Why would you be good to them? They can laugh, smile in your face, and laugh. Look, we treat this person like dirt, but they're still nice to us, and that person is smiling at me or what have you. Don't. You have to understand. They're trying to take away your self confidence. Try to take away your resiliency in yourself. They're trying to break you down, however way they feel like it. And if you are around people, like I said, they will try to make you believe that by doing good is bad and by doing bad is good. So be aware of that. As long as you're not hurting anybody, okay? As long as you're not hurting anybody, you do what you want to do.
Exactly, and that's the thing. Because I think sometimes what they'll do is they'll try to put you in, like you said, in a position where they feel like, okay, like with me, because they know I'm studying their tactics every single day. Every single day I go through this. Everything that they try to do, everything they try to pull, So what they're trying to do is now, like, they're trying to be like, okay, we're on your side. We're going to help you study them and all this. We're going to do this and we're going to. I don't fall into that trap. I don't fall into that.
They try to play good cop bad.
Right. Exactly.
They try to act like if they're on your side.
Exactly.
They're on their side.
Because as soon as you don't do what they want you to do, they end up poisoning you or stealing money from you or damaging your property and all that kind of stuff. I know that. I'm following my own kind of thing. So I'm writing these essays and getting information on these essays, on my experience with this stuff and also on how what is it with individuals that they would allow themselves to participate, within them, in this type of harassment of other individuals. What is it that the makeup of those people, whether it's economic, cultural, or whatever, and so all this information, and they say, okay, well, let's start writing this tomorrow. And I'm like, I'm not writing nothing until I feel like I'll write, but I have to feel to write. I'm just not the type of person to wake up in the morning with okay, I'm gonna write a few chapters today. No, I have to get into because I'm an artist, so I have to get into this mood where I have to feel it to write, and until then, I'm just going to have the information, and I have all stuff separated and, and categorized and, just neatly, together. But, like I said, they always want you to believe that, okay, well, we're trying to help you do this, but I'm not listening to that, man. I mean, there are times when, I might appease them because, at the end of it, I laugh at them afterwards. I'm like, yo, y'all such idiots, And I know they pissed off about it. That's probably why they poisoned me today, do what they do today, because they know I'm not going for that nonsense, I mean, the way they manipulate people is just, and just to say, like, anybody can be manipulated. It's just really, really, so I'd rather choose to educate people, because I know they're being manipulated. So, my thing is to educate the ones that are being manipulated. And once they're educated, and hopefully, they'll start to ask certain questions. And when they ask certain questions, and those people, they asking, questions, and we can't answer those questions, then those people, common sense will say, well, you know what? If you're telling me this about this guy, and I'm asking you this question, and you can't give me an answer, then how am I supposed to believe you? How am I supposed to believe you? So like I said, my thing is to educate those folks. Of course, I have to target them too, and they're targeting me so that they know how it feels to target somebody. And then, then I explain to them, such and such. But, at the same time, for me, the best thing for me right now is to keep doing what I'm doing, learning. I mean, look, like I said, there are times when, when they do this to me, and I feel a little bit shaky, but I just kind of like it's a. But that's only natural, and you shouldn't feel like you shouldn't feel any way about it, because that's only natural. But, exactly.
Obviously, there are many people out there who are participating in this, against you. So it's like it's only natural. So at times when they will kind of like break down your defense mechanism.
Right.
But you know what? The next day you get back up, you go out there, and you face it.
Exactly, and that's what I do. I mean, that's exactly what I do. Because over over the past week, I guess I had like I wasn't feeling well, and like I said, you and I spoke about this already, Nigel. Like when you're not feeling well, then they'll have these people call you and want to be around you and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And but I mean, it's the same old, and and then when they think like, okay, well, he's beginning to feel a little better, but not 100%. Then they'll call to see what happens, and I just like I take whatever precautions necessary. You know what I'm saying, to make sure that that nothing bad happens in a sense. So like I said, it's the same old script over and over and over again, and
right, exactly. It's a repetitive thing that they do, and once you become accustomed to it, you can deal with it much better, because you see the patterns, you see the repetition that they do, and and that's the flaw of the psychological program, is because once you've gone through this enough times, and you have not, let's say, because what they want you, let's say you haven't taken your life, you're not institutionalized, you you develop, you see, and you recognize, right? You develop, you see, you recognize the patterns. You learn, you educate yourself about, what it is that's being done to you, and also that, but you educate yourself by being through what you've been through.
Right.
So educated enough through them doing this to you to know that look, when this happens, this is how they're gonna react. When I'm not feeling well, this is how certain people are gonna react to me. They're gonna always want to come see me for whatever reason when I'm sick. When they're like, when I'm sick, stay away from me. No, I don't want you next to me. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to get you sick. So why you And then once you feel better, you'll see they don't want to be. They're not calling you no more to come over. You begin to see them. You begin to see those patterns. So,
exactly.
It's
Yeah, and I think sometimes too, like I said, it's not strange, but I think that that they're so, like, I guess with me, they feel that, okay, wow, we really got a challenge on our hands, and it's exciting to them. You know what I'm saying? It's like, they're like, okay, well, this guy poses a challenge to us, and well, we need to really step our game up and all this kind of stuff. So now it's like, okay, well, as far as like the mind control,
it isn't like they're thinking, oh, they need to set the game up. You see, they know that once a person have been in this program long enough, they become stronger mentally.
Yeah.
Okay. So what they do is that anytime you adapt to a certain form of conditioning, okay, they have to go back to the drawing board and create a new form of conditioning.
Right.
Okay, so that's what that's about. It isn't about because they see you, they think of you as a challenge and anything like that. It's not a challenge. It's them. It's just like how when you recognize certain patterns now, how you can develop defense mechanism against it. Okay, so what they're doing is just developing conditions to combat your defense mechanism.
Yeah.
To try to condition you in another way, because the way that they've tried didn't work. So now they have to go at it at a different angle.
Yeah, exactly. And it still doesn't work. And that's the funny thing to me, because like I said, with whatever angle they come at, I come at them with an angle too, because I'm just like, this kind of stuff right here is they trying to make me look bad, so I got to do the same thing to them too. I got to make them look bad too, so that all the demonization is not just placed, solely on me.
Well, let me ask, who is them?
I mean, whomever, the government, of course, the government, whoever's behind this. Like I said, and the thing is, the best way to place the demonization on them is by not falling into the traps, by not, whatever rumors that they're telling people, by not, by not falling prey and becoming, the person in the rumors that they're spreading, that kind of thing, So
because also
not becoming the person they want you to become.
Right. But now also Miriam, is that what you have to understand is that a lot of things that they do is manufactured. So like you have manufactured consent, you have manufactured evidence, you have manufactured bad guy. When I say manufactured bad guy, meaning that they have conditioned you and they have manipulated you to be the bad guy. Okay.
They introduce you to a system that if they had never introduced you to, that you would have never placed yourself in that position.
Exactly.
Yeah. And what the FBI are doing now with unsuspecting citizens and trying to build.
Yeah, it's a form of entrapment, and it's a form of entrapment. That's what this is. So it's like, okay, let's create criminals out of people who are not criminals. By deceiving them, manipulating them, and entrapping them into a crime or something like that. It's again, you have to be aware of that. But if you're not aware of it, you'll fall prey to it, and the point, I was trying to make with this gentleman from Toronto when he was talking about, and I said, you are aware of it, most of us are not aware of it. So, those who are aware of it are fortunate that they don't fall into a lot of the pitfalls and the traps. And, those of us who are unaware of it, I have to say, if it wasn't for other TIs who basically put their experience out there on the internet, I mean, none of us would be here. None of us would be here. None of us would be doing as well as we are doing at this point and at this moment. It's because we recognize that we're not the only one that's going through this. That this is being done. You know what I'm saying? That gives you a sense of relief, and makes you want to find out more. Huh?
Somebody breathing like a cow.
Yeah, I don't know who that is. Let's see. We got Texas.
Somebody breathing like a cow.
Like a cow or like a dog in heat?
Okay, that was Texas. That was Texas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Texas.
But like I said, but the thing is, Mary, it's funny that you say you thought I was an atheist because I was mad. I mean, being mad is not gonna make me. Turn me into an atheist. There are a lot of people that are Christians that are going through this. That, I'm not a person that blames a God or anything like that. That's not because I don't believe in that. I blame human beings, wicked human beings for the stuff that we go through. But I accept self-ownership, which I think everybody should accept self-ownership. So that they don't feel like, okay, they need to have some form of entity to to give them some sort of to give their life some sort of meaning or some sort of purpose. I'm an atheist because I'm educated about religion and I'm educated about both the Quran and both the Bible. I understand where they come from. I understand the whole process of how those religions came to be. So, that's why.
Before you continue, let me end the tip because I got to get to bed. I hope tonight's show was a very informative one. What did you think, Miriam? Was it informative or not? Miriam?
I said yes, always.
So I didn't hear you. You kind of.
No, I was muted. Sorry, I was muted. I said yes.
Ah, you mute yourself, huh?
No, I was muted when I said it, so sorry. But it's always informative.
Yeah. I try,
And God bless just from what you say between your job and your family. Let me give you an example. My heart goes out to you, Nigel, because what they're doing to you is indisputably insanity.
Yeah, let me tell you what part of my job mobbing today, as how they, and this is a good example, right? This is how they try to use colors to, whatever it is that they're trying to indicate, But again, whenever they try to use colors with me to try to gander any kind of negative thinking or negative thought pattern or negative belief, I always use the positive of that color, right? So, I'm sitting at my desk and the office door ring. I open it up and the night manager comes in. He's looking for another coworker, right? So he started talking to me and blah blah. And then he puts his hand in his pocket and he kept shaking his pocket, right? Because his pocket has change in it. And this is what they do, right? So it's only me and him there. Okay, so now obviously if I go file a complaint, he's gonna say, "Oh, I didn't do that. I didn't." You know what I'm saying? Because it's just me and him there. And he knew I was the only one there. So he kept changing his pocket very, very loud. and then he said the color of blue, but I didn't quite understand what he was saying, So I'm like, okay, why did he just say the color blue without any kind of, other kind of wording behind it? He just dropped the color blue. Okay, so I was like, okay, well, okay, you mean the ocean? It's nice and blue. You mean, so I started thinking about all the positive things of the color. So, because in my mind, I don't know if they have like I said, during the day, through conversations that we were having with my other coworkers, whether they had subliminally implanted any kind of negative messaging associated with that color. So, and I became aware of it. Because once he just said the color and that was it, automatically I started using the positive effect of colors in my mind, because I knew that they have done something through conversational hypnosis to, condition my mind to think a certain way. So once I knew that, I just started using the positive effect, and after he was gone, I didn't even think about it after that. So that is the power of using positive NLP. That is the power of using, of learning about the positive effect of colors, especially if they use color to affect you and to target you with those colors. So again, and this is from my experience. So you have to do it.
Yeah, and I think also the fact that with me, like, they started wearing like all these neon colors, but when I see those colors, I just feel happy. I mean, I see those neon colors, I feel happy. I'm like, oh, damn.
Yeah, because once you have to become conscious of those feelings when you're feeling it, or those kind of thinking when you're thinking, because that is the only how you're gonna be able to identify the negative thought pattern, the negative feeling, and to recondition your mind and your feeling to think and feel in a positive manner. And you have to do this. I do this all the time because.
Right, and those neon bright colors, those when I see, I think like, okay, wow, that's some really cool colors, right? So when I think, when I see those neon colors, I think of the word cool, but then I also think of the word lost. Like, when I see those colors, I feel like they're surrendering to me, because whatever it is that they're trying to do, break me down, they're lost.
Right.
So that's how I look at it. Right. I see those colors like they're
condition your mind. Right. Condition your mind to that whenever time they do something, condition your mind in a positive way. It means meaning that you think positive, and also condition your mind also to think of them being failures or something negative.
Right. Exactly. And that's where the lost. Exactly. And that's where the lost thing comes in, because like I said, when I think of them being lost, to me, it's a powerful statement to me, because I could see the look of despair on their faces, and at times, I'm like, okay, well, but then I also know that, from taking childhood psychology, is that, after you reinforce punishment. I mean, you give punishment, but you reinforce love. So what I do is, when they have their heads down and they somber and they walk away from me or whatever, I'll just like run up to them and be like, hey man, you doing okay? I'd be like, you look kind of somber. You okay? I mean, I'm like, come on, man, you looking good. You getting big in the gym and all that kind of stuff. And then I get him a pound and all that kind of stuff. So, and it's not. I'm not doing it to rub anything in. I'm just basically conditioning them also, to me, so that when they target me and I target them and it affects them more, it's my way of showing to them that, okay, you can do this to me, but I can also do it to you. But we don't have to do, we don't have to do this in a sense. We can be cool. You won't target me, I won't target you. I don't know you, but I'm assuming, whatever. So that's how I look. I mean, that's how that's how I treat them in a sense, because like I said, to me, like I said, when I see those bright colors, it's just like, I'm like, cool. I guess they're surrendering because they lost, kind of thing. So, I'm like, okay, and I think it was proven effective, and that's why they felt like they had to do what they they did today, in terms of with the whatever chemicals that they they poisoned me with, and that kind of stuff. So and then when that happens, I actually feel good in a sense, because it shows that I am affecting them in such a way that they have to go through that length, all right, to do that to me.
Yeah. It's right, and look, because the more knowledgeable you become of this, is the less it lessens their ability for them to even now try to take away your credibility, right? So from time to time, whenever through your experience, whenever they try to make you feel like something negative is going to happen, and then they'll do things during the course of the day to try to affect you in a negative way, or to try to make you feel negative, and they realize that it's not working, right? Then sometimes what they'll do is, like what it would be, they'll start talking to me and bringing up the words crazy, right? And I'm just like, yeah, you're the crazy one, okay? Because that's the only thing that they can fall back on to try to discredit us with.
Exactly. Okay? But and the funny thing is, for me, what I say to those people, I'm like, okay, well, what do you consider crazy? I mean, and I give them examples. I said, okay, well, could you imagine? Would you actually ask them the question? Hey, if someone came to you and said, I need you to help me to poison this person, because of such and such. I said, even if it's someone of the law, do you think that your knowledge of the law, do you think that it's okay to poison somebody? I mean, if somebody has done something wrong, then they would have an arrest warrant, or they may ask the person to come down to the station for questioning, or they can question them right there. The person doesn't have to go anywhere if they're not a suspect in any crime. All right, even as a suspect,
it's not about that. It's that's what they want you to believe. That's what they want other people to believe who will participate in your targeting. But it is
right.
Like I said, it is a fake investigation thing to get people to become in targeting it.
But let me finish. I said, and then I asked him that, and I said, well, sometimes that, like when the government holds secret experimentations, whether it's mind control experiments or chemical warfare experiments, this is what they do, to demonize people, to get people to feel like, okay, well, you're doing us a great service by helping us to do this to somebody. Or they might make you feel like you're a patriot, like you belong to some kind of organization to expose, terrorists or whatever the case may be. But I'm like, why would a government official put a citizen who knows nothing about none of this stuff, why would they ask you to do this? They're going to put your life in danger. They don't care about you. Because, I mean, you may be right. I could be a maniac, but hell, you could be the maniac. They may be using you to try to get to me because they want me to get to you. And then they start scratching their heads and they be like, okay, you may have a point in a sense. So, I just try to confuse them as much as they trying to confuse me. So, yeah, I've learned to play that game pretty well.
All right, let me just end the tape here.